Today, we're going to do something we don't usually do for the sermon. We're going to talk about and focus on the life of someone who isn't Jesus. Now don't worry, I see some of you look afraid. But this fellow's life points to Jesus, so it's going to be just fine. Maybe even better than fine. Of course, we're going to talk about St. Matthew, who is our patron saint and for whom the parish is named. Of course, today is his feast day, isn't it? Today is the day we celebrate his life as apostle, gospeler, and evangelist. And we look to his example. But the funny thing is prior to his conversion, Matthew probably wasn't all that different from you and me. Now, as a tax collector for the Roman Empire, he would have been really unpopular around April 15th every year. But hey, the IRS guys are unpopular in this country around April 15th every year, aren't they? So that's not too bad. But he would have lived a good life. He would have been secure in his life. He would have been firmly middle class. He would have had nice clothes and lived in a nice house, ate nice food, been around nice people, just like you and me. He would have had a good job in an office somewhere, probably. And no doubt, on his weekends, he was getting ready for a Carolina or Clemson game. Firmly entrenched in a nice, comfortable, middle-class lifestyle. And then one day, the Lord came to him, and he heard Jesus say, "Matthew, follow me." When he heard the words, he heard the call of God in his life, he didn't say, "Oh, yes, Lord, I love you, and I will follow you next week. Lord, I love you, but I'm busy." No. He got up off his butt, out of his chair, left the office, and followed Jesus. Where Jesus went, Matthew went. What Jesus did, Matthew did. What Jesus told him to go, he went. He lived the life of an apostle and an evangelist after his conversion. It was a change in his life. Now look up at the beautiful banner that Michelle Pierce painted for us. This is an interpretation of Caravaggio's inspiration of St. Matthew. And when you see him there, he's an old man, not quite as good looking as I am. His beard's not as great. But there he is in nice clothes in an office, writing. He doesn't look that different from us, does he? I could get a big red robe and do that. You could do that, Rob. I know you could, right? He doesn't look that different from us. And yet there's a reason he's a saint, and that reason is that he decided to get up and to follow the Lord, to leave his middle-class, comfortable life and to do something because his conversion changed who he was and how he lived. Now, I remember when I was thinking about going to seminary, my old diocese in Southern Virginia made us meet with people who could tell you the truth about what it's like. And I met with this holy deacon, Kathy Gray. She's about 67 now. Don't tell her I told you. But Kathy said, "Oh, Charles, I feel so sorry for you now because God is going to ruin your life." She says, "You've got a good job and a beautiful wife, and God is just going to ruin that for you." Now, not ruined, but certainly changed. Not ruined, but certainly changed. And that's what conversion is about. It's about being changed, about being different. That's why Matthew is a saint, an apostle and an evangelist. It's why he's remembered today. Now, I read an article this week on the internet by Matthew Barnes, who's a columnist, and I think Chris may be the one who even posted it on the internet. But the article was great because it talked about conversion and what it means. And in the article, he mentioned that he hates it when someone comes up to him and asks for money on the street. Now, do any of you feel a bit like Matthew Barnes when someone does that? Yes, you're like, well, I'm not giving you money. Indeed, he says, I always do that. I say, well, I'm not giving you money because I think you'll buy drugs with it. And I don't want to support a drug habit. And so he won't give them any money. And usually he says it ends with kind of a muttering, but I'll pray for you. And then you kind of hurriedly walk off, hoping they're not following you. Right? We've all seen it. Maybe some of us, if we're honest, have even done it before. And yet he says that the Christian gospel demands more from us than this. Remember the Chinese proverb, if you give a man a fish, he will eat for today, but if you teach a man to fish, he will eat for the rest of his life. But what the Christian gospel requires, what Jesus requires of us, is for us to have a converted, ruined life. For us to give the man a fish today. Don't necessarily just throw $5 at the problem and say, I'll pray for you, and hope they're not following. But instead, say, let's go have lunch together. Let's have a coffee. Let's talk and get to know you. Let me help you figure out what you might really be asking for and what you really need. Now that, to be fair, is a lot harder than throwing $1 or $5 at it and walking off, isn't it? It takes time and investment, and sometimes it hurts. Sometimes it doesn't work out. But that is what leading a converted, ruined life for the gospel is about. It's about being willing to step out and take that risk to do it. That's what we're called to as the people of God, about getting up and going and doing and living in the world. I know that if I choose to live that life, and if you choose to live the converted, ruined life with me, that we won't end up as rich as we might have ended up. We won't end up as comfortable here as we might have ended up. We probably won't have as much free time or freedom as we would have had we not chosen it. But I also know when I get to heaven, I hope I'm not accused of having a nice middle-class life, but rather of having a messy, reckless, converted, ruined one. Amen.